How's it going, everybody? I wanted to give a little insight on why I built Sanford the way I did and why it's so hard for me to change the formula. So I grew up, it was, I don't know, mid 90s, early 2000s, and I was a teenager and stuff at that time. And I was racing motocross and stuff. And I mean, that was my adrenaline rush at those days. And I got into, I started liking Jeeps a little bit, and I remember seeing Warren Industries had a old high hood, it was a commercial or a page in a magazine of a high hood, had like 34 950s on it, and it was kind of on this hillside. And I fell in love with that Jeep, and it was super cool. And then as I, was buying more and more four wheeler magazines, I remember seeing Ned Bacon's Killer Bee, but it was way before the Killer Bee. It was just a black flatty with a yellow cage, and I don't know if they're 33 or 35 1550 SX Swampers on it, and just big bubbles in there. I mean, it was super cool, but it's still, probably late model CJ5 running gear or something in it. It's Dana 30, 44 or something in there, but it was one of the coolest Jeeps I ever saw, and so that kind of got me going. And then I ended up, I got a CJ5, and I was building it, and then what was it? I did 33 1550s on it. I put a small block Chevy in it. And then Four Wheeler Magazine was building their Scrambler, and they did the Highline fenders or the pancaked fenders or whatever. And I did that, and that Jeep probably to this day got more comments and more respect from people when I was at the gas stations or anything. Just, I mean, it looked tough. It was one of the toughest looking Jeeps around North Idaho area. So I ran that for a little while, and I thought I was the best there was, and I went on a sprint, well, it was what they call cabin fever run, and we went up a creek bed that we used to run, and there was a hill there, and I got to that. I mean, I watched several guys go up it, and I could not get up that hill to save my life. And I watched a guy who came over. He just looked at me, and just kind of smiled, and he chugged up that thing doing about 5 miles an hour. And that's when I discovered lockers, And then so I just was like, okay, I'm never taking this Jeep out till I put lockers in. Well, in the meantime, there's a lot of stuff going on in California and stuff, as far as, Johnson Valley, Wheeling. There was some Colorado stuff, there's a bunch of cool Jeeps coming out. It was just starting to get into the full width axles, like, so Shannon Campbell, his salmon colored flat fender. I mean, I remember that before it was salmon, when it was tan colored, and it was on 33 boggers. But yeah, most of them were running 35-inch boggers, Wagoneer or full width axles, and just suspensions we'd never seen, whether it was either spring over, maybe the quarter elliptic, but these Jeeps are coming out, and they just, they look like giant RC cars or something. They were super cool, and I had to have something like that. Yeah, there's another guy, Brett Epperly, and then I remember Sam Patton had his CJ7. It was on 40-inch boggers and everything. I mean, that was just unheard of at that time. And I had to have something that was wide like that. So I had a set of Chevy half-ton axles, and I locked them up. I put 456s in them. I probably 22, 23 years old at the time. Never done gears, never done, and I know they weren't right, but I wheeled the crap out of it for a couple of years, And I was the only one in this area that had the full width stuff for probably close to a year. And then I changed. I got rid of my 12 bolt and 10 bolt, and I went to a 44 and a 9-inch. And my buddy, he ended up getting those axles. So me and him were both full width, and I was running 38 12.5s, and he was running 35 boggers, and we wheeled like that for a couple of years, and we wheeled 4 or 5 nights a week. I mean, we hit it pretty hard. And my Jeep, when I did change all the axles, I painted the frame plum crazy purple. The body was Corvette yellow. I mean, it was a cream puff when it came out. And after one season of me and him wheeling, that thing was bad. It was like the old Pirate of the Rubicon Jeeps, it just ate rocks. And I mean, we beat on them hard. And but at that time, like I saw these guys, I saw these crazy suspensions and flex, and I mean that's back when they weren't even attaching the rear ends to springs or anything. I mean those things, as soon as they got leaning, they just flop over. They could tie themselves in a knot, but the RTI ramp was the big thing at the time, and there wasn't much for fuel injection. Maybe a throttle body injection motor would pop up once in a while, and kind of some of the tune port stuff started coming in. But I don't know. I've had buggies. I've had, pretty built Jeeps. I've had new Jeeps, old Jeeps, all kinds of stuff. But that whole era to me was the best time in Jeeping, I think, ever. I mean, there was so much growth that came out, so much innovation, so many ideas that got tried out and stuff. And I mean, and all the trails that people are running now, I mean, yeah, there's newer, harder stuff, but most of the mainstream trails were founded on either Willys flat fenders or those styles of Jeeps, and it's what brought the game to what it is today. And I kind of built Sanford as a tribute to that era because it was just, we did a lot on leaf springs and, I remember carburetors, Edelbrock carburetors, and we'd shim the float passages, the between the floats there, we'd shim that up so, you couldn't slosh gas from one float side to the other, and did all these little try to make them the best off-road kits we could, running quadrajets on there backward, just all these things that we were doing trying to just get one up, And so I kind of, when I started building Sanford, it was, I could have linked it. I've got coilovers. I have everything here to do it, and it's like, and that's why it's kind of hard because it's sitting here, but it's just, I love that era. I love what Sanford does, the way it's built. And to do it, I'd have to completely, pretty much change everything about the Jeep. And I just can't hardly bring myself to do it. I'm kind of, the stuff we're doing, yeah, it's getting more and more buggy-ish. And that's why I'm kind of teetering. Like if I make God Rock on leaf springs, I'm probably going to run them at least another season. Or I'm just going to leave Sanford completely the way it is and just keep throwing leaf springs at it. But yeah, if I don't make it and it hinders me and starts hindering me more on these trips we're doing, then yeah, I'll probably go ahead and link it, and just get it over with, But that's been my dilemma, It's like it's more of an homage to an era that I grew up in, and I watched this innovation and stuff. And I think a lot of people these days have forgotten about it or never seen it, to where, if you don't have coilovers and 24 inches of shocks and all this other crap in there, they just plain don't think that you can go anywhere, and it's kind of baffles some minds when people, I've got some nice tires and stuff on this, but when they see leaf springs, they kind of like, oh, well, I'm not towing him. And old Sanford pretty much goes anywhere I point it, so it's left some jaws dropped in a few spots. So that's part of it. I've always liked being the underdog. So yeah, it's just a little insight of a little bit of my history and my Jeep history, and and what I do remember. And I mean, going into high school and having a stack of four-wheeler magazines and seeing these Jeeps and just drooling over them. Who knows what they were teaching me in history or whatever at that time, but it was just, that was what I was into. And but yeah, so that's a little bit about Sanford. That's why I built it the way I did. That's why it's so hard to change, and why I love this Jeep so much, because it's a little bit of soul or a little bit of my past, I guess, all combined with a little new and a little bit of old. So I just figured it was something I'd share with you guys. So take care.